All right. Good morning, everyone. We're back on, and we're ready to say Tehillim. We're going to have this class in Schos of Chaya Vivian Bas Margalit, a pure, total refuah shlema. If anybody wants to add on names, feel free to do that. Anybody here? Okay, I'll say for Sar Mindel Bas Chanetka. Okay, here we go. Chapter 20. Lamanat Seyach Mizmar. Evelyn, do I have anyone to say Tehillim? Chaim Makom ben Chana. Rachel bat Chaim Sarah. Okay. Lori, Ingrid, if anybody has any names. Becky, good morning. Lynn, feel free to put down names here for Tehillim. Lamatzeach Mizmor LeDavid, Yancha Adonai b'yom tzara, Yisagef Hashem Elehei Yaakov, Yishach Ezracha Mikodesh B'tzin Yisadeka. Yizkar kol mechosecha v'lascha yidash nesela. Yitain lecha chalavecha v'chol atzascha yimale. Rana b'shuasecha uv'shem Eloheinu nigo. Yimale Adonai kol mashal secha. Ati adati ki Yoshei Adonai Mashiach Yanei Mishmekotcha B'gros Yeshayimino. Ela v'recha ve'ela v'asusim v'anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu naskir. Hema karav v'nafol v'anachnu kamenu b'nisadad. Adonai Hoshia Hamelch Haninu v'yom karenu. Nurit bat Rut Kadera. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Everyone should have a refuah shlema. And we are in the month of Sivan. In fact, till Yud Bet Sivan, which is Thursday, we don't even say Tachanun. Yeah. So it's still in a very, very uplifted and spiritual time. It's interesting because it ends on Yud Bet Sivan, which is my anniversary. Oh, so, right after that, we start Tachanun again. Okay, so last week we went through the first 5 of the 10 Commandments. How many do we have left? My husband says to the kids, what color was George Washington's white horse? I don't know. I never learned that. All right. So we're up to, hi, good morning, Rosalie. Good morning, Barbara. Please put down if you want anyone to say, if we want to say this class in honor of everybody. Anybody? Hi, Corinne. I'm glad you caught us. Good morning. Okay. What's the 5th? Actually, we were finishing up honoring your parents. And we spoke about how it says twice, Zachor and Shamor. Zachor was to remember, so the positive parts of Shabbos, like lighting candles, making kiddush, putting a beautiful tablecloth, serving fish and meats. That's the positive. What's the Shamor, the keep? What kind of mitzvahs are that on Shabbat?
The prohibition.
What? The prohibitions, Don't drive, don't turn on the light, don't turn on the switch, don't cook, right? Those are the don'ts. And we say how the same thing is in a relationship. There are the do's, and then there are the don'ts, right? There are things that you do to enhance relationships, quality time, the 5 love languages, gifts, acts of service. Those are the do's. The don'ts. Don't talk about your spouse in public. Don't say lashon hara about your spouse. Don't be cynical in front of them. Don't contradict them in front of others. There's like the don'ts and then there's the do's. So that's the way it is for Shabbat, and that's the way it is in a relationship. And then it says to keep it holy. So what do you think that would mean when we're talking about, Dov Ber Ben Bela Yona Bas Chaya? Okay. What do you think would be in our marriages? What would give me an example of something that would be to be holy? Mikveh, excellent.
Preparing food for Shabbat.
Okay, good. So go on the tangent that you said on mikveh. When you go to mikveh, what are you bringing into your marriage? Hashem. Remember we spoke about last time the word for man and woman in Hebrew. Ish and Isha. And what is the difference between those 2 words that are so similar? The Hey and the Yud. When you put the Yud and the Hey together, what do you get? Hashem's name. So that's the Kedushin. That's the Kodesh. When Hashem says in the 10 Commandments, keep it holy, it means bringing Hashem, bringing that third partner into our home. So for women who are already post-menopausal and they're not doing mikvah, there's a million other things that you could bring Hashem in. Lighting Shabbos candles brings Shalom Bayit in the home. Making sure there's a mezuzah on the door, which teaches us about Shalom Bayit. I'm sure you know that, right? We had a talk at our Leil Shavuos, and the speaker on spoke about mezuzah. But the whole idea of mezuzah is that one rabbi in the Talmud says it should be vertical. The other one says it should be horizontal. So what do the rabbis do? They compromise and they put on a slant. And people think, oh, that's so cute. No, it's not cute. It's the truth. The rabbis were compromising. In a relationship, there has to be compromise. It's my way or the highway, you're doomed for divorce. There's no person that knows absolutely everything, because we all come from different backgrounds. We all have childhood influences, and we all have different relationships that are giving us a very strong input in our marriage. So who says your family got it wrong? Maybe my family, but this is my family's way. That's your family way. Let's compromise. And that's why before you go into the house, you kiss mezuzah. Reminds you, compromise. And if you compromise, there's going to be zero arguments. There might be different opinions. There will be different arguments. Why? Because if your husband says, I want the lights on, I want the lights off, I want the air conditioner on, I want the windows open, I want this car, I want that car, I want this kind of house, that bathroom. Everyone has opinions. But if it's not done through arguments, it's just done through different opinions because you're compromising, that's perfect. In my family, my husband likes the air conditioning, I like the window. How do we compromise? We do both. Don't laugh. The window's open and the air conditioner's open. It's a compromise. So we all can learn compromising from the mezuzah. Okay, so that's what it means about bringing holy. Because bringing Hashem, that third party, allows you to have Yirah Shamayim, which means humility. A person who has humility is connected to Hashem. If we're in a home where there is no concept of God, then it's my way or his way. Why is he right? Who says his family knows better? But when there's a Hashem in the picture, we're humble because we're not Balgaitis.
Also, like when you go to a therapist, right? And you sit in front of a therapist with your husband or a marriage counselor or whatever, and both of you are talking out like your feelings and the way that you view things, and then the third person is listening and is being totally like neutral.
Yeah.
Right? And he's here, or he or she are hearing the both sides of the story. Same thing of like bringing Hashem inside, right? So both of you have both sides of the story that you're bringing into the family, and then you have Hashem that's bringing in the holiness and understanding.
Exactly.
Everything.
Right. That awareness. And I think having mezuzah surround the house and having tzaddikim on your walls and having svarim in your house, it's a constant reminder there's a third party that's neutral, right? Because some of us are like, I don't see a God. Oh, yes, you do. Look at the pictures of holy, righteous people. Mm-hmm. Look at the mezuzah. Look at the siddur. Look at the tzedakah box. That's reminding you there's a Hashem. Good morning, Bernice. Good morning, Lauren. Okay, now we're up to the fifth one. Okay, we actually only did 4 last time. Honoring your father and mother. So, how is that? We know that what Hashem expects. Hashem tells us we have to honor our parents, because by honoring your parents, you're honoring Hashem. That is why honoring your parents is on the right side of the commandments, even though the right side is really about between you and God. Why is that on that side? It should be on the other side. Mm-hmm. So why is it on the right side? Why is it together with mitzvah shebin adam le makom?
Because your parents are the ones that made you. So you have to sit down and like realize that your parents are people, and that they make mistakes and whatever, and although that they form you the way that you're supposed to be formed, you have to sit down and realize that, say, okay, I forgive you for whatever things I think that you did to me as a child, and I am ready to be a better person.
Right. And that knowledge, it's a very interesting thing, because a lot of parents today in 2023, it's about, my kid wants to sit in my seat. I'm not going to say no. We spoke about this on Shabbos, right? I'm not going to say no, because how am I better than them? You're doing the mitzvah of kibbud aim, not because your mother is better than you. No. Because Hashem said. That's why it's in the side of God. If a parent forfeits all of the kavod, doesn't matter if you walk into my room whenever you want, doesn't matter if you sit on any chair, doesn't matter if you interrupt me because you're smarter, doesn't matter if you contradict me because you know better, because kids today are so smart. It's not about the kids. It's about Hashem saying, your kids have to respect you because I said. You don't want it? Tough luck. I said your kids, you cannot, the word in Yiddish is, you can't forgive. You can't, you give it up because you are such a loving, friendly mom. It's not about you. Hashem said these laws. And by the way, a culture and a community that respects the parents has a culture where there's less killing, less murders, less raping, less incest, less molesting. Why? Because these children that were raised honoring my mother and father are raised with an understanding of kavod, of respect, of humility, of a God. They don't get to that space where you're chas v'shalom hurting other people's. But a child that has it all, you've gone to stores where kids say things like, oh, mom, why don't you just, and the mother will laugh like, oh my God, my kid is just 4 years old. Don't they sound so adultish? And that will stop them. I've seen it with my own eyes. We have kavod. We're not allowed to contradict a parent even when we're 55 years old and our parents are 80. It's a very, very, very hard mitzvah when you're older and your parents are getting older and you want to tell them what's best for them and your parents don't want. Al pi halacha, you are not allowed to contradict them. You can come across with all the positives. You could show them. You could encourage them. But at the end of the day, you are not allowed. And today's adults will look at me and say, Goldie, you're out to lunch. Anybody agree with what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay? Give me some love if you agree. I'm very old-fashioned, but it's not old-fashioned. I am old-fashioned. I'm still reading a book that's 3,335 years ago. It was written, and it's still current. I am not impressed with any people today that raise their children not according to Torah. I look at it and I cringe because they have no idea what's going to meet them when their child is 18, 19, 20. And they want to tell their child, you can't go around with that guy and sleep with him at 16. And the kid looks at the mother and says, what do you mean? What do you mean? My friends are doing it. And now you're raising me? You didn't tell me anything when I was 3, 4, and 5. Let's catch ourselves now when our children are younger and say, this is the way we do it, not because I said, but because Hashem said. Hashem is that authority. And you know what? Have you ever seen parents that say, sweetheart, I don't want you to jump on the table, okay? I don't want you to play with that knife. It's going to hurt someone, okay? Wait, what's okay? That's an insecurity. We don't jump on tables. Or better, tables are for eating and learning and praying. Knives are for cutting. I'll take that away. It's dangerous. What's this? Okay? So that you're not sure. Even kids are, there's an amazing guy, parenting guy. He talks about how children grade their parents. He says from the young age of 3, they grade their parents. Have you heard of this guy? No. They know if their mom's a 1 to a 10. So they say, my mom's a 4, my dad's a 10. What does that mean? If my dad says to me, you're going to bed now, as a child, right? You're going to bed right now. Go brush your teeth. We're going to bed. A kid says, my dad's a 4. I can kvetch 4 times after that. He means business. My mom, she's a 10. I can kvetch and kvetch and kvetch and kvetch, and she'll never, put down her foot because she's a 10. I can just take advantage of her. She doesn't put down her foot. But my dad, he's a 1 or he's a 2. Now, children don't know they're grading, but they have this incredible awareness. With my mother, I can get away with anything, or with my father. If I whine enough, if I just whine and have a little temper tantrum, I'll get whatever I want. I know my parents. Another kid says, oh, my mom, when she says clean up now, she means business. How do you know that? Oh, I know that. The words she uses or the look she gives me, right? So when our children know that we're secure about something, whether it's dating someone that we're not ready, that's inappropriate, or words that are inappropriate. My parents give one look. My mom, she gives me that look. I know if I don't do anything, So it's confidence, and it's confidence it comes with Hashem. Honoring father and mother is part of the 10 Commandments that connect between us and Hashem. Okay, now I want to get to the 6th one. It's funny, I was doing a little program with the kids on Yontif, and I was asking the 10 Commandments, and they knew all the ones on the 5, but they didn't know the one. They just knew don't murder and don't kill. They didn't know the rest. And you know what? I was pretty stumped too. How many of us know the 10 Commandments by heart? So let's go through them now. Do not, what's the first before that? Do not murder. Exactly, do not murder. What does that reflect in a relationship? If anybody knows, what does it mean, do not murder? Yes.
Do not murder with words.
What's the pasuk we say always, quoting Shlomo HaMelech in his Sfarim? We've said it so many times.
That you won't do to somebody else.
No, she was saying about words. What's the pasuk about words that Shlomo HaMelech quotes? Chayim v'mavet biyad halashon. Chayim v'mavet is on all depending on your tongue. We have spouses, where we have husbands and wives who get married, young people coming into marriage excited, optimistic, confident, and after a few years you meet them and they're like a half of what they used to be. Mm-hmm. And you wonder what happened to them. If you're living in a verbally abusive home where one is lashing out at the other, maybe they're not hitting, maybe they're not sexually molesting, or they're sexually, abusing, but sometimes words are so devastating. You have these hopes and dreams. I have to tell you, last night, I had my brides and grooms over at our house. And one of the Kalas that Evelyn might know, she was telling us how her mother is going back, and she's in her high 50s. She's going back now to study to become a nurse.
Oh, wow.
And we were talking, my husband and I were part of the class, we were talking about encouragement, that each of us have hopes and dreams that don't die when we're 20.
No.
They go on till your 60s and 70s. We have a woman in the show who's in her high 60s who just finished her doctorate, right? That was one, and she always says that was one of my dreams, right? This is about sharing with our spouse our dreams. We spoke about the daily temperature read, I think, one of the classes. I don't know if we did it here. It's something that I speak to the brides about and the grooms about, that every week a couple has to sit down and go through this exercise. It's called the daily temperature read. And we did, right? And one of the last thing is, I'll give it to you. The last thing is about wishes. Every week, a couple have to discuss their dreams, their hopes. It could be traveling to Europe. It could be going for another degree. It could be building a new home. It could be changing a career. It could be learning something, right? We all have dreams. Mm-hmm. Who should we share it with if not for our spouse? Mm-hmm. With our girlfriends? Like we really don't care enough? Our spouse has to know, because our spouse, with the right words, encourages. And my husband said to everyone, I always want to write a book. And he says, and Goldie encouraged me to write my book. And now he's on his second book. And it took a lot of time, right? Like, why should I write a book? It's going to take away time from family. No, if this is your spouse's dreams, this is what it means. Do not murder. Don't squash their dreams. Don't squash our self-esteem. Lift them with our words. Because a hostile environment, chas v'shalom, is a killer. So when it says do not kill, it's really talking about our environment. Okay. What about, it's actually interesting in the 5 love languages, when we speak, we always say, I like to quote Mark Twain, one of the greatest authors out there. He says, I could live on one compliment for a month. I mean, maybe his wife had a problem, but this is what a compliment does. There's actually a very, very wealthy man who wrote this in his autobiography. He writes, he was really crushed by his wife. This was a man who was a big shot at work, Wherever he walked in, yes, Mr. Jones, yes, Mr. Jones, here's a drink. What would you like? You know how big shots walk into their company and everyone's there, all the co-workers and all the secretaries. It's all about Mr. Jones, Mr. Jones. And he comes home, his wife belittles him. So one day, his wife wakes up in the morning and she says, hey, honey, it's your birthday today. What should I do for your birthday, right? This man, you could buy him a yacht. You could buy him his private plane. What should I buy you for your birthday? He said, I have to think about it. She wakes up an hour later because she was never in a rush. And she walks into her private woman's bathroom. Apparently today, if you really want to have a good marriage, you have to have the his and hers bathroom. I don't know if you heard this, but it's a thing today in real estate. And she walks into her bathroom and there's a little yellow sticky on the mirror. And it says, honey, for my birthday, I would love some respect. So sad. A man could have everything in the world, but if he doesn't get from us, if we don't give to our husbands, and we don't get it from our husbands, you don't need any yacht, you don't need any vacations. You just need that respect, those words, the compliments, the kindness, the selflessness, right? It comes through the words. And that's why we said, B'yad Hashem, because that tongue, oh my gosh, that tongue. It has such beautiful gifts, but it could also be so devastating. And that's why we always say it's the teeth and the lips. Okay, what's the next one? You know what? I don't know why. I don't have it still here. Yeah, it comes later. Be what? Be faithful. Right? Be faithful. What does that mean? No one we know is going to start cheating on their spouses. But what does it mean? There's so many phone calls this morning. What does it mean to be faithful?
Don't talk badly about your husband in front of other people. Don't talk badly about yourself in front of other people.
Even when girlfriends are joking and women joke together, and it's a lot of fun to talk about the spouse. There's two things you could do. You can either change the subject or you can get up and leave. Do not get sucked in ever when it comes to talking about husbands. And it would be amazing if some women today would just stop that vibe.
There's these memes on Facebook that I see that these influencers make fun of their husbands. Like full out make fun with a picture of him. I would like if
Number one, unfollow.
No, it's just like they just
it
just pops up. And I look at it, I'm like, ew, why would you do that? That's the father of your kids. Like that can never be erased.
Yeah. Can never be erased. And there's a fellow who went to work and he hears some coworkers behind him laughing about something they heard about a certain guy with his wife. And he recognized that was his story.
Oh.
His wife must have shared it with a few friends. She shared it with a few friends. It went to her friends. And maybe it didn't even come with the name, but it was his story. And this man actually told it to a marriage counselor and said, I'm ready to leave. If my wife can't be faithful, it's not just about sleeping with another man. It's about watching what we say. And I think, for all of you that are watching now, right, you're saying faithful is being kind, respectful, committed to your spouse. Exactly. Good morning, Mindy. Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, Joyce. Good morning, Denise. Good morning, Helga. You know what? It's about, so we have to stop the culture. Because today everything's about getting likes. Mm-hmm. So you put on a meme because you're going to get a like. Right, Shelly?
I don't know why.
On your husband's back, you're getting likes. Well, you're going to get likes, but you might lose your husband. And how careful we have to be. But we should stop it. So we're not involved in it, but now the next step is, can we stop it? Can we stop it? One of the women's classes, I think it was a few years ago, we were talking about when you're in Lashon Hara, how do you stop Lashon Hara? And we were practicing tips because a lot of women were saying, we get sucked into it, right? Like I get sucked, everyone's talking and I don't have the courage. Oh, you're such a prude. Like I don't have the courage. So we were practicing, like you can get up and say, oh yeah, I gotta go. I just realized I gotta go. Someone would say, no, don't just say that. Actually, just say, why don't we just change the topic? Or about, you know what? We love our husbands so much. Why would we do this? You could do it in a cutesy way that you don't come across as like the Rebbitzin, because God forbid nobody would want to be a Rebbitzin, but your friends, and I'm talking to everyone here, your friends will go home and say, wow, her husband is lucky to have a wife like that. I didn't have the courage to do that. Right? So maybe on the moment you'll get some backlash, but that night there will be a lot of people respecting you way more than anything else in the world. So that's the 7th commandment, being faithful. By the way, you know, walking around the chuppah, what's going on when we walk around the chuppah 7 times? So according to Kabbalah, we're building our home with the sfirot of Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferet, Netzach, Hod, Yisod, Malchut. That's what the 7. And because the woman is the builder of the home, she actually goes around, builds the home. But then after she builds it the 7 times, she stands in that circle. Where is everyone else standing? Outside. So faithful means that you and your spouse are cognizant that we are in this circle. So it's not making jokes, you know. And if one of the spouses does make the joke, you can subtly say, I think you just stepped out of the circle. It's so sensitive. It's so gentle. Do you like that, guys? It's boundaries. Exactly. It's boundaries. Thank you very much, Lori. It's acknowledging and actually saying it, because if we don't acknowledge and say that hurt me or that, you're building up these walls where it's called stonewalling, where you almost like remove yourself from that thing, and eventually you build up the wall where eventually you could have jumped over, but once it's too much, you can't jump over that wall you built. So just that cognizance of you stepped out of the circle is enough to say, I'm sorry, you to him to you, and get back into this circle, because it's going to happen.
I think like a lot of people are very hard doing that, like having boundaries these days. Like they don't understand that marriage is a relationship between you and your husband, and they kind of like make a joke out of it.
Yeah.
Like something happens and it's right away, oh, my husband's an idiot. Oh, this,
I can't even be in a circle like that. Oh my gosh.
But it's not even like that. It's like, it happens to everyone.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that happen.
Yeah.
And my friend, I'm like to her, listen, like you have a really good husband. Like you have to stop saying these things. You have to stop talking about yourself this way.
Shelley,
right?
someone like that should watch like marriage things. Like they should start following really good people, like Dr. John Gottman, or people that can give them like just a little awareness, because I think it's just lacking awareness. Maybe they didn't go to Tanya classes. They didn't go. I have to tell you, because we give classes every year. There's one girl that's married, at least 14 years. Whenever I see her in shul, she says to me, she can tell who came to our brides classes. We've been doing it for 25 years, right? I go, how can you tell? She goes, when they're sitting at events where couples are sitting, if those women or the spouse will say a negative word about the spouse or something cynical, she'll say, oh, they weren't in the class. It's just, sometimes, Shelley, it's an awareness. When you're telling this to your friend, you're giving them that awareness. Sometimes they were raised by a family like that, so they heard it. They heard it by it's an awareness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all. And when you encourage them and inspire them, because who really wants to wreck up a marriage?
No one.
Right. Okay. Right. You can change. Lisa says you can change the topic without saying anything at all. Redirect to talk about something positive. Exactly. You don't even have to be the big shot. You could just redirect. If someone's talking about an idiot, and you go, oh yeah, you should have seen that building that was being built. I've never seen such a crazy building. Just change it to whatever. But you're right. You got to be creative. Okay. Who knows what comes after? Do not be faithful. Someone said before. Do not steal. Yes. What does that mean? It's a very interesting one in a relationship. Do not steal. Like, who's going to steal from their spouse?
Like steal the spotlight, steal the time that needs to be about that person.
Okay. Giving credit. Do you know there is a concept in Jewish law that if you heard Torah from somebody and you repeat it in their name, like, oh, I heard this from this speaker, I heard it, I read it, you are giving, it's a mitzvah, actually, to give credit to where you heard it. When we hear something from our spouse and we share that, like something's going on and everyone, yeah, that was my husband's idea, or I heard it from my spouse, or my wife, she did this. That's actually, it's giving credit, which is the opposite of stealing, right? You're giving credit to your spouse. So, and besides the fact that it gives them such self-esteem,
Sure.
like you say, you know what my husband just taught me, or you know what I heard from my husband, you know what my husband shared to me, you know my wife, you know what she said, you know what she did. Giving credit is the opposite of stealing. And, you know, even like, we just finished Lag BaOmer, Rabbi Akiva. You know the story about Rabbi Akiva. He lived 120 years. The first 40 years, he was an ignorant shepherd. The second 40 years, what happened? How did he become a teacher? His wife, what was her name? Rachel. What did she tell him? Go learn. She was from a very wealthy home. Her father disowned her because she was marrying this poor shepherd. So she lived in poverty with her husband. And right when she got married, she said to him, actually the Talmud says she slept on straw. This is how poor she was. And she said to him, I want you to go study. You are so brilliant. I want you to go study. He went to study for 40 years, we're told. And when he came back, what he told his students was, Shali v'shalachem shalah. What's mine and what's yours is all hers. Because it says that he came back to speak at the community where his wife lived, and he came with all the students, and Rachel came, she wanted to see her husband. It's a very emotional story because she was like such a tzaddikus. And she came through and she was looking like beggarish. And as she came through, the students were like, go away, go away. It's not kavod, go away. It's Rabbi Akiva. And she says, I want to go speak to him, And when she finally made her way through, the people were like defiant, like how dare she comes and speaks to you, the Gaon Rabbi Akiva. He had thousands and thousands of students. And he looked at his students and he looked at his wife and he says, whatever you have today, any Torah you have today is hers. And this pasuk is in the Talmud. For eternity, he praised his wife. I mean, clearly if he didn't, I would be shocked. But she gave her everything so that he could say Torah. And today, which child doesn't know Amar Rabbi Akiva, v'haftal? I mean, who doesn't know Rabbi Akiva? But he said, everything I know came from her. Right, Sheli v'shalachem shalahu. Exactly. Thank you so much, Sarah. Everything that I know came from her. And that's tremendous humility from someone who has so much, accolades and respect. You could forget where you started, that you were a little humble shepherd and your wife paid your way. But not only did he thank her, he publicly said, everything I know is from her. Hi, good morning, Sarah. Good morning, Nechama. And Lisa says here something very good. She says, do not take their kavod. It's very interesting. I like that. Don't take away the spotlight. If someone is being acknowledged or respected, let them. Don't laugh at it. I see too many times where one goes, yeah, you got that degree, but you know what you did for the family? Wait. Do you see the beauty of the Torah? Do you see how sensitive our culture is? Our Torah is so sensitive to kavod, to respect between husband and wife. And the Torah gives us the guidelines. And if we just follow the guidelines, sometimes you look at the greatest rabbis and rebbes and rabbanim, and you see them married to 100, 110, 105, and their wives are sitting with them, and they're like hunchbacked, and their wives are hunchbacked. But the respect they have for each other and the love, and you wonder why. It's because they follow the Torah. End of story. The Torah encourages this beautiful, blissful relationship. Is it impossible? It is possible. For people who don't follow Torah, you don't know this. There are kids today in Ghana who are drinking filthy water and they die young because they don't know. Their parents don't know. People say, what you don't know can't hurt you. Of course, it could kill you. what you know can give you the best marriage ever. Oh, let's continue. Do not bear false witness. Okay? Don't accuse. Stick up for each other. All right? You know, I saw something in it. Let's get to the story. Do not accuse. That's what it talks about. Do not bear false witness. Right? And instead of starting with, I saw it, talk about, you know, in the daily temperature reading, one of the things we do is we talk about things that are concerning us, but in a very positive way. We use it with a way that's not overtly, you know, ganging up, but in a positive way that I noticed something, I was curious, I was wondering, what do you think, right? So it's not to bear false witness. I'm just going fast because it's really late. Do not covet. What does that mean? Number 10, do not covet.
Jealousy.
Huh?
Jealousy.
Jealousy, yeah, but what does that mean in a relationship? So, I mean, this is something that I was thinking, I don't know. Today, you know, many men will get up and leave the house, you know, okay, I have to go for a shear, or I have to go to a baseball game. I have baseball tonight, right? And the wife is left home with the kids. When the wife has to leave, she has to organize a babysitter, the bottles, the pajamas, right? And sometimes a wife covets that, right? Now, why do I have all this? How do I get stuck with this? Why is it my responsibility? You know, 2023, women and men are both working, and yet household, you know that joke about one day the husband comes home from work and the house is a mess. There's toys, the kitchen piling up. The kids are still in their pajamas. They're still eating bowls of cereal. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon and the place looks like it hit a bomb. And the husband's looking around for his wife. She's not in the kitchen. She's not in the family room. He looks in the bathroom. She's not in the bathroom. He goes upstairs. The beds were not made. Nothing. And kids are all over the... And he sees his wife sitting in bed and she's reading a book. He says, honey, what is going on? It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So she goes, you know the thing you say to me every day, honey, what'd you do all day today? You know, you always say, what'd you do all day today? I didn't do that today. I didn't do that today. That's why everything looks the way it looks. So we each can't covet each other. The husband says, what'd you do all day? He's jealous? Wait a minute. Get into each other's shoes before we are jealous. So that's our class for today. And have an amazing week. Let's keep the 10 Commandments. Goodbye, everybody.